Do you have a motto? Do you have like one word or phrase which sums up your values and who you want to be and what you want to achieve? No, neither do I. Somebody who not only does he have a motto, but he's had a different motto for every decade going back over, well, a considerable period of time. John Cowan joining me on the program. John.
Good morning. Always a privilege and pleasure to be invited into your radio parlour.
Well, thank you. You impress and amaze me even more than you normally do. Actually, having a motto, gosh, this just seems really organised, John.
Yes, my motto has been, you'll always make a killing if you aim low enough. Oh, no, that's not actually on the list that I sent through, is it?
No, it isn't. But I mean, this is something you've done consciously, and you've said, hey, This is my... when you started, did you go, this will be my motto forever, and then you decided to adapt them? Or did you always think, I'll do one and then...
Look,
for a decade.
I'd sat through lots and lots of talks by inspirational speakers who said you should have goals and things like that. I don't do that. I've never, had that sort of list of goals where I'm going to be, married by 30 and own a house by 35 and have an extra, 3 marriages by the time I'm 50, that type of... I've never had goals like that, but I have quite consciously had mottos. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I acquired that penchant, but throughout my teens, I'd said, my motto is going to be seek first the kingdom of God.
Well, that's a good one. It's not original, though.
Into my 20s, and that was, am I doing what I should be doing? That's the motto. That was sort of like the ruler I'd set everything against in my careers and my decisions and everything like that. That was it. And then I can remember as I was approaching my 30s, I'm thinking, am I going to have a different motto? And I can remember this coming to me in the shower. Yeah. And as I often do my best thinking in the shower, I just don't have any way of really recording it. Even a chinograph pencil won't write well on
write it in the fog and then hope it Anyway,
it was put a smile on the face of God.
Okay.
Because possibly I was greatly impressed by the dullness of a lot of Christian communication and things, and I wanted to see. So I thought I'd spend my 30s trying to inject a bit of creativity and flair and humor into communicating things about God. And that's actually how I did spend my 30s. I was working as working in Youth for Christ and as a pastor, and so I tried to think, how can we do this with a bit of flair? How can we do this with a cut? So that really was my motto through my 30s: put a smile on the face of God. I think he would just, look at me sometimes and laugh and think, man, I made a mistake there.
Obviously got a sense of humour. Yeah. So from your 30s to your 40s, what was your 40s motto?
I thought, as I was moving into my serious, sober 40s, that my motto became, and again, I made this decision, I would think about it coming up to my change of decade birthday, and it was change the world.
Okay. I mean,
I was going to try and... Yeah.
Question on this
one. It's modest, isn't it?
It's pretty modest. Were you hanging around with Tony Campolo at the time? Because it sounds like a Tony Campolo kind of vibe, doesn't it?
Maybe he did influence me at that, but I had the opportunity of speaking in the media and writing books and manuals and speaking at public events and things like this. And so I thought, I'm going to, my goal is to nudge the sad old planet in a good direction.
Okay.
And through parenting stuff and relationship stuff and things like this.
So subtitle to change the world was for the better, I suppose.
For the better.
Nudge it in a positive direction. Well, it's good to be specific about this because some...
Yeah, we could probably make a list, couldn't we? Well, you nudged it that way and this way, but, hopefully there'll be a net gain and benefit there. Yeah. That would, Yeah. So change the world. So seek ye first the kingdom of God, put a smile on the face of God, change the world. They don't contradict the previous one. They're not a sort of a complete change in direction. They're just sort of building on emphasis. Yeah. Yeah. And I just found this sometimes really good was, when I was coming up to say a change of employment or something like that, does in my parenting, does this line up?
John, this is great planning ahead for when you write your memoirs, because you've got your chapter titles sorted already, haven't you? so
Yeah.
This really is going well. So you're over 50, aren't you?
I'm
joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking. So what's your...
Coming up to my 50s, I can remember thinking, what's going to be my motto in my 50s? And I can remember a preacher referring to a poem or a description, I think might have been even Robert Louis Stevenson,
Yep.
where he was watching a lamplighter coming down the street, lighting the lamps in a street, the gas lights in a street. And it described him as poking holes in the darkness.
Wow.
And I thought, that's a great motto. So my motto in my 50s was poke holes in the darkness, meaning there's a lot of misinformation and ignorance and things in the world and in my own head.
Yeah.
And so it was going to be a conscious discovery of what is right, what is true, and, correcting, informing, rescuing myself and others from ignorance. And
this
by the way,
light of mind type stuff, you've got your little candle and you're going to put it on a lampstand. That type of vibe, was it?
Oh yes, but this was a whole street light. This is a whole this is a whole string of street lights. But it was just being more thoughtful, more philosophical, more scientific, more endeavoring to find out, hey, what's going on. And I did re-edit a lot of my thoughts and my ways of thinking and things I'd just taken for granted without thinking much about, and also a greater concern in actually helping to educate, I guess, to as I'd come across a nugget, pass it on.
Yeah. This is kind of like a wonderful redemption story. It's kind of like reverse Rake's Progress, really, isn't it? as you learn different things about yourself and about life and about experience. Yeah. So, like you say, they don't contradict each other. They build on each other. You learn and apply different things. So you've made it to your 60s.
I made it to my 60s, and honestly, I think about my next decade's motto for years. I'm even starting to think, what's my motto going to be in my 70s? I'm thinking sort of maybe try not to die. Might be a good one, but I haven't quite, I'll fine tune that closer to I'm only halfway through my 60s.
Yep.
But coming up to my 60s, I considered a lot of them and then just settled on the word give.
Okay.
Give. In all its different connotations and things, meaning, of course, give financially. That's an easy thing, really.
Yeah.
When you don't have any money, it's very simple. What do I give? Oh, I haven't got anything. No, well, but I mean, no, it's been give of your time, give to your family, give, invest in other people, because I really genuinely believe that's a happy way of doing life. In fact, I've even dug around and found out there's all sorts of research on people that have a generous attitude. They have better immune systems. They are more resilient. I mean, one study, they got a whole lot of people and gave them money and told them you can either give it or spend it on yourself. Afterwards, the people that had the better time were the ones that had given it away.
Wow.
They actually found it was more enjoyable. And there's actually been quite a lot of research on this. I don't know why it is. Maybe it's just to give...
I think it's PR...
Give you information.
Fundraising companies doing some research.
Yeah, I was just going to say, perhaps it's just to give data for you to use in your Rhemathons.
Exactly.
Give, because you're coming up in just a moment. Much better off. And it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
A survey of nearly 250,000 people showed that the more you give, the happier you are, regardless of income level.
Yeah.
And, after the Canterbury earthquakes, the ones who had the most resilience were the ones who actually were able to muck in and help.
Yeah. And
the ones that came through worst were the ones that were just shut up and just waiting for someone with a clipboard and a yellow jacket to come and tell them what to do. And so, you survive stress. And so, there's all sorts of reasons why I think give is not a bad motto to have. Cynically, it works. You give, and it tends to be boomerang shaped. People often sort of give if you give people time and attention and affection and it bounces back to you.
Yeah. Give it will come back to
yeah.
you. Yeah, exactly. Now, I think this is something which it'd be good to unpack a little bit further because, I mean, we spent so much of our very worthwhile conversation today having your life flash before your eyes with the various mottos of the decade.
It just goes on and on, doesn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is something to drill deeper into. I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned Rhemathon because we do have a short 2-day appeal next Tuesday. So,
okay.
So this wasn't a conspiracy, but thank you for setting that one up.
Well, I'd like to speak to your most selfish listeners and just say, look, out of pure self-interest, donate to Rhemathon because a psychologist at Stanford called it psychological chocolate.
Wow.
You know, you give, you actually benefit. And there's a thing that another psychologist calls the helper's high, where people who volunteer and give and invest in others, you know, they analyzed 3,000 different people and they found that it works for them. I mean, you can get, you know, what do they call it? Volunteer fatigue or something? What do they call it? What's the term?
Compassion fatigue.
That type of thing. You can get, it's, and perhaps that's how I should perhaps just finish off. Though I mean, do it well. Only give what you have.
Yeah.
Avoid debt and extravagant foolishness. Don't do it out of a sense of obligation or, you know, the goal is to make the other people feel helped, not to help you. So, you know, I take back what I said about being selfish. Modesty and discretion and anonymity, whatever that word is, anonymity, they have their place in that.
Cheerful giver as well, not doing so because you're a grumpy old git and John Cowan said that you should give.
Okay, and if I can just get up on a soapbox for final thing, one thing that I have perpetually had a problem with is rich old Christians who think that because they give, they can control things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know, the golden rule. Those with the gold make the rules. And that is just appalling.
It doesn't just apply to Christians, but I get your point in that regard. I mean, that a spirit of generosity is good, but it doesn't buy you anything apart from perhaps some happiness.
No, golly, it's but you see it often when I was in, you know, anyhow, I'm sure we can all have stories of people who think that because they've made a big donation or something like that, they can now dictate something about an organisation or a person.
Next time we chat, you know, if it's good therapy for you, I'm quite happy for you to come and name and shame those people on my show.
I have a little list.
Some wonderful wisdom for different seasons of life, John. Thank you for your generosity in sharing that with us today.
It's been therapeutic as I've unpacked my life in front of you here. Yeah.
Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.